Welcome to Ruin a Bad Guy's Day radio podcast with fraud expert Skip Myers.
This is your guide to fighting fraud and chargebacks.
Learn the best fraud prevention solutions and strategies.
How to enhance your fraud prevention team.
And how to prosecute criminals. Now, here's your host, Skip Myers.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning in to Ruin a Bad Guy's Day radio show. Hi, I'm Skip Myers, your host of Ruin a Bad Guy's Day radio. I want to start off and thank everyone who continue to support the program, and especially those of you who keep sending in all those great emails and feedback. So today we have a great show lined up this week, including a very, very special guest that's going to help you fight fraudsters and prevent you from being a victim of vacation rental scammers. But first, I have some funny news and news of the week about stupid criminals and other updates involving stupid criminals. But I found this article this week, which is very funny, and I thought I'd share that with you as an opening to the show. But it looks like a Florida man, 32 years of age, fakes a robbery to get out of going to work. Unbelievable. So a Florida man went to extreme measures on Tuesday, just this week, to get out of going to work. You know, what do people think of every day? So the Polk County Sheriff's Office said they responded to a 911 call in Dundee, Florida, for an armed robbery. The victim, identified as 32-year-old Brian Anderson, told the responding deputies that two unknown suspects took all his money, his necklace, and his cell phone. Anderson said the suspected robbers then threw his phone on the ground and fled in a black Ford Crown Victoria. The deputies quickly learned that the robbery really never happened in the first place. And the suspect, this guy named Brian, confessed that he made up this whole story just because he didn't want to go to work and show up for his 11 a.m. shift at a local restaurant. You know, really, folks, this is crazy. Whatever happened to just saying, hey, I can't come today, I got a cold? I mean, who makes this stuff up? So Anderson was arrested, obviously, and charged with the misuse of the 911 system and knowingly giving false information to local law enforcement. Hey, look on the bright side, the deputy said. Brian didn't have to go to his shift. You know, he's all better, but now he's going somewhere else where he can get a free meal. Gee, I wonder if he really still has his job and what he's thinking about today. Another stupid human trick and dumb criminal there that we like to report. Chance for police to ruin a bad guy's day. So hey guys, as promised, Ruin a Bad Guy's Day radio will be featuring some of the top fraud fighters in the industry for 2019. And today, I'm especially excited to introduce to you Tammy Sorrento with FireballApproves.com. Tammy helps potential vacationers confirm ownership of vacation rentals so they don't fall victim to the growing problem of vacation rental scams. So hey, Tammy.
Hi.
I'm so glad you could join us today. How are you?
I am great. And I have to say that your stupid crook story, why do they all have to come from Florida?
Oh, no. I don't know about that. There's plenty of bad guys. There's plenty of stupid criminals around. Maybe they're just vacationing, and maybe they're some of the people you're fighting every day, hopefully.
Maybe. That's awesome.
Hey, so first, before we start, I just have to ask, how did you come up with the name Fireball Approves? I just love that.
Well, thank you. And not everyone does. And that's because it really doesn't say what I do, but there's a reason for that. But Fireball, I am the Fireball. So it was just a natural, literally when I was thinking of what my business name was going to be, Fireball was it. And then Approves is I'm approving of this vacation rental for you. So it just made sense. Fireball Approves.
That's so awesome. I love that name. And obviously it fits the owner of the company very well.
It does. Yes, it does.
So that's so awesome. So, hey, can you tell our listeners how you got into this business in the first place and explain exactly what Fireball Approves does to help people from being scammed?
You gotcha. Generally, ideas for businesses come from personal experiences, and that is no different for Fireball Approves. About 2 years ago, I can't believe it's been 2 years already, but about 2 years ago, I was looking for a vacation rental. Now, Skip, my background is insurance investigation, so I've been an adjuster for, oh heavens, I'm aging myself, but I would say about 25 years now. And so when you're investigating claims, you just have that skill set that you make sure that all the T's are crossed and all the I's are dotted. So unfortunately, I had just a little window of time to schedule this vacation with my extended family. And last minute, we decided we wanted to try to go to Key West. Well, unfortunately, all the Airbnbs were booked, all the VRBOs were booked. I went to Craigslist, and even my brother, he's a real estate broker in South Florida, and he called me and he said, Tammy, now be very careful because there's a lot of scams in the rental listings for Key West. So I told him, don't worry, I know what I'm doing. and I will do my due diligence. So what I did, and it just really surprises me at how easy it is for someone to post a listing that they have no business posting. So I contacted the advertiser. He sounded legit, but once again, I wanted proof. So I Google mapped, so I made sure that there was truly, a residence home where it was supposed to be. Then I looked at the property appraiser site, so I could tell who the owner of that property was.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And anyone can do that in the state of Florida, but not all states have that.
And probably not all people know they can do that either.
Exactly. So like I found that in California, you cannot do that. They do not list. It's not public records who owns which address. So I had the name of the owner, and this advertiser posed as the owner, but in reality, he was an imposter. Now, if anyone can look up those records in Florida, that means the scammer can too. So how
exactly.
the scammer was? He actually created an email address in the name of the owner.
So he did his homework, and he's doing everything he can to really, fake out these potential vacationers.
Exactly. So while I'm corresponding with this person, I said, I just don't know that you are who you say you are. Because when you think about it, anyone can be on the other side of that communication. So it finally got down to a point where I either had to reserve the place or I had to move on. So I explained to the advertiser, I said, you know what, I just need proof. And something I also did, Skip, is I was so intent on my due diligence that I even reached out to a retired police officer.
Awesome.
And he did not contact me until after this correspondence that I had. But here's how this rolled out. I told the advertiser, hey, I just don't know. I just don't have the proof. So he became frustrated with me. And he said, you know what, but he didn't realize he was dealing with Fireball.
No, that's when he said, I'm dealing with the Fireball.
Yes, that was definitely the beginning of Fireball. He helped create this. So he said, I've been renting this place before you, and I'll be renting this place after you. And I said, okay, well then, you don't need me. I just cannot make a reservation and come down with my 4 grandchildren and not have a place to stay. So I told him, this is a no-go. So then 2 days later, he contacts me and he said, and this is another red flag, is he contacted me and he said, hey, I've got someone else who's interested in your dates, but I was working with you longer. Do you want to reserve this location? And I said, you know what? Nothing has changed. So no, I'm out. He said, well, let me send you some references. Now, meanwhile, I'm not thinking that this is a red flag because I was very high maintenance. I'm sure that he did not have to work so hard in the past.
Sure.
Like he did with me. So he sent me 3 invoices and there was no phone number. So I did like any normal person would do. And I Googled the phone number. I contacted a victim of this scam, this exact scam.
Wow.
And her reaction was, why in the world did he give you my information? She said, that was a total scam.
Okay. And he did it because, he's trying to, one, he believes, you're not going to call this person. Most people are probably lazy or they just take it for granted. It's true.
So she said that her and her husband had flown down And that was a residential home. The owner was not renting it. And I said, oh my God. And this was over New Year's Eve weekend. And in talking to her, she was so embarrassed that she fell for this scam. And I said, okay, but you use your credit card and you use PayPal. So were you protected? She said, and not only was she out the money that she had sent to the scammer, but then she had to find temporary accommodations.
Oh, sure. What an inconvenience.
On top of that. Oh my gosh. And over New Year's Eve weekend, I'm sure she paid premium for that.
No celebration there.
No way. So she said that it took her 6 months to get the money back from the credit card because they considered that a person to person and not a person to business.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's a little bit different than your regular chargeback through a business when you dispute the goods or services.
Exactly. And there's not a lot of people that could be patient to get that money back, especially when you're saving for a vacation. And it just really opened my eyes, Skip. It was like, wow. And, I was so thankful that I was not a victim. But at the same time, I thought, well, you know what? It's because of my background that I asked all these questions. And
right.
then I got to thinking, well, you know what? Not everyone has my skill set. So that was the birth of Fireball Approved.
Or your spidey sense. That's
it
what
was.
So again, so many people in this case, the bad guys, just like in other cases I worked in credit card fraud or financial crimes, I mean, these imposters are really betting everything that the victim is going to, take it for granted, they're going to trust what's going on. They're not going to do their due diligence, where a lot of times, like what you saw, there's a lot of warning signs there, right? There's a lot of commonalities.
Yes, absolutely. So I actually do this for long-term rentals and even short-term rentals. The short-term market would be like the traveling nurses. Do you know that the traveling nursing field, they change assignments every 13 weeks.
Oh, okay. Wow.
4 times a year. So they definitely need my services. So after this, I went and got my investigation license. I went and got the investigative tools. So my product, and it was basically what I wanted when I was in that situation. I searched high and low for some way to confirm, to validate, to verify that the advertiser truly owned or was a authorized agent of that property. And there was no one. Like I said, my next call was going to be to the retired police officer. But what I did was I developed this business and I do these verifications over the entire U.S. So if anyone is looking for a rental home, they can be in the same town of the renter. In fact, one of my favorite stories is a single mom, 2 children. I had been on the news and she contacted me. And this location was a foreclosure.
Oh, wow.
So imagine a single mom, 2 children trying to find a place to live. She would have given the first rent, last rent, and security deposit for a home that the advertiser had nothing to do with.
Yeah, what a terrible, terrible, sad thing to happen to someone like that who's trying to make ends meet most likely, and then they get confronted with this scammer.
Exactly. So not on my watch.
That's awesome. It seems like so many people want to try to go, again, we're all trying to save money and save time and a lot of times go through services like Craigslist, not just to buy, some things around the house or a new lawn, a used lawnmower or something like that, but also Craigslist lists vacation properties too.
Yes, they do, as well as Facebook. And you would be surprised at how many actually go to Facebook to try to find a location, whether it's long-term, short-term, or vacation. And once again, how do you know that that advertiser is legitimate?
Exactly.
You really don't. Anyone can post. So my first tip to your listeners is if you know anyone that is renting, and this is a good area to be in because millennials are renting more than the other generations. And you can always find information on buying homes, but you really don't find a lot on renting homes. And I think that is a disservice. So I'm actually writing a book right now on the tips and tricks when you are renting a home. And like I said, that's for any duration.
Oh, awesome.
Yes.
Yes, that's like we're pre-screening this podcast. You and I had a great conversation about building the awareness and education for the general public about, how to prevent yourself from being a victim of scammers. And people like you are doing a great service to give that information out there to people that really don't know what can happen to them if they don't do due diligence or use companies like yours to protect them from scammers that are being imposters of real properties.
Absolutely. So they didn't see me coming, that's for sure. Then after I started doing the verifications for the rental properties, after talking to the legitimate rental owners, I realized that they needed a platform also to be able to say, hey, I am a legitimate, I am the actual owner of this property. So my other product is for the owners, and they go through a stringent application process. And this is a way for them to be able to show their potential customers that they are legit. So I actually service both sides of the transaction. If you go to fireballapproves.com, if you look under properties, you're going to see the ones that have gone through my process. And I vouch that the contact information that I have, you are dealing with the owner, and you don't have to worry about dealing with an imposter.
So you're giving these vacationers that peace of mind and knowing that there's someone back there with your type of expertise doing the due diligence to make sure that these people are actually the real owners of these properties. And really, we were laughing about this the other day, but you're the Angie's List.
I am.
Vacation property rentals to help, vet these owners and make the potential customers, in this case, the vacationers, have that peace of mind that their money is going to be well spent.
Exactly. And, I have not approved every application. And the one that comes to mind that he was a decline. We had an application for our accreditation, and he provided for the evidence that he was authorized to rent out this property. He provided a copy of the passport for the owner, and the owner was in Switzerland. So he must not have thought that I would contact the owner, but you know what? I did. And that owner in Switzerland said, "You've got to be kidding, because that was an ex-employee of mine. Wow. That person should not be listing my property." Unreal. So that just goes to show how easy it is and how common it is for people to try to steal your money. But you know what? The money is not the only thing that you're losing. If you fall victim to this, you're also losing your dignity. And what are you going to do? If all your money is wrapped into that, you got to think of a plan B. So my service eliminates all of that.
And that's great. And it's hard to put a price on having peace of mind, especially when you're wrapped together all the different things that can go wrong if you rent a property from a scammer and not knowing what the consequences are if that happens, like you mentioned, on New Year's Eve or New Year's Day, and you have nowhere else to stay.
Right.
How sad. This sounds like that would be a great service as well for senior citizens, because, this is a big problem, and it obviously is a huge problem in states like Florida and popular destinations for vacationers.
Yes.
But, what we're seeing too, like we're talking before, that, senior citizen scams are becoming a lot more prevalent, and especially in Florida with a lot of senior citizens retiring there, it's on the increase as fraudsters just seem to always target the most vulnerable groups of people. And that's really sad.
They do. I listened to a news article on the internet, and this was a story of a grandfather in Orlando. Now, here's where the scammers have amped up. What we were just discussing are the ones where you're dealing with someone, but you're not in the same area because you're vacationing, you're going out of town. In this case, he had rented a home. The scammer had changed the locks on this foreclosed home, had a lease for the grandfather. The grandfather had several grandchildren that he was responsible for. And the scammer actually showed the home. The
nerve.
Yes. So you have a false sense of security thinking, hey, they're here. They're in front of me, They just showed me the house. They have the key. So this grandfather moves in, turns on the utilities, had saved up all his money for this home for his grandchildren. And next thing he knows, the bank was knocking on the door and saying, "What are you doing? This home is ours." So he had to start all over.
It's really unbelievable, but in our business, really not so unbelievable because there's so many fraudsters out there. The reason why they continue their scam is because it works.
It does work, and too often.
Over and over. And a lot of times I like to talk about, and we had a nice discussion about this other day. I mean, criminals and fraudsters and scammers continue their scheme because it's easy for them to do. I mean, they've had success at it. And with that success becomes more boldness, more greed, and more opportunities for them to prey on victims out there that don't know better. And thank goodness there's people like you out there trying to help us.
Well, I tell you, I am definitely trying to get the word out because anytime it happens, it's happened one time too many, in my opinion.
And that's why I love talking to you. I love what you're doing. I mean, it fits right in with Ruin a Bad Guy's Day. I mean, more and more education awareness is needed for the general public about fraudsters and scammers, how they operate, and just educate people on how not to fall victim to scams, through case studies and stories just like yours, learn from our not always mistakes, but learn from what we've already done before. So you don't have to become victim yourself for not following some simple steps that your company can help provide.
And I'm going to share with you what the steps that someone can take that I have learned over the course of owning my business. Your first thing that you want to do, if you're looking at a rental ad, those photographs, do a Google reverse image search. So that means right click, and one of the options is going to be image reverse search. Here's what is going to pull. They're going to look for that image, that picture that could be listed on any platform. So if it's a vacation rental, it could also, those pictures could be on Airbnb. And generally, if you're a property owner that is renting your property, you're actually going to have more than one platform. So you're going to be on all of them. So that it's not a fail-safe, but that is a tip. Reverse image search those photographs. And you may be lucky enough to find that there are other listings out there, and then you can tell the price. If you see in one place it's considerably lower than all of the other listings, then you know what? You were looking at the fraudulent listing.
Yeah, it's too good to be true.
Yes, absolutely. And the second would be definitely to check public records. You want to check property appraiser. But then once again, my cautionary tale to you is because of my circumstance, and that was my business case when I developed my company, is even if you do the reverse image search and you look at the public records, that doesn't mean that someone did not list a fraudulent property. So you still, those are the things that you can do on your own, but you still need to check with me because I check the email address, I check the phone number, I provide the product that I wanted when I was looking for a vacation rental for ourselves.
That's awesome. Hey, Tammy, I was writing down some notes while you're talking, and some bullet points that I know I'm going to take away is really understanding before I would ever rent a home or condo before I go on vacation. I'm going to make sure, well, first of all, I'm kind of paranoid myself with my background, of course,
of course.
before I do these things, but some of the things that I'm going to tie in together to help others too, from your great advice here is, think twice about wiring money or using that credit card or PayPal, send cash or money to someone you don't really know or someone that you haven't really done your due diligence on for that particular property.
Exactly. And you know what? Wiring, and I'm sure you've talked about this before, but wiring, you have no consumer protection.
Exactly.
It is no different than just going to a stranger on the street and handing them cash.
And bad guys love the cash. So yeah, look out for those guys who want you to send a MoneyGram or a Western Union money transfer. That could definitely be a huge red flag. And what I'm hearing too is similar to a lot of what a lot of fraudsters do that I've worked with and busted, is that, bad guys, especially your scammers, are, it's like this sense of urgency they're creating with this vacation, or, they're trying to get you to rush into a decision.
So you don't have the time to really question what you're doing. You don't have the time to do your due diligence. So that's why one of my cautionary advice is don't wait to the last second, whatever you do, because that limits your ability to be able to do your due diligence.
Exactly. And what it sounds like too, again, these bad guys are so smart and prey on our weaknesses by offering that lower price on that, like that premium property you're talking about. Those should be red flags. Press the brake pedal for a minute. Right. And understand, hey, this sounds too good to be true. What do you mean you're charging $250 a night for a beachside premium condominium? I mean, so it looks like they really, really know what they're doing, don't they?
Oh, they do. And you know what? They know that you're not in that town. They realize that you really don't know what the going rate is. So that is another way for them to swindle you out of your money. If you're looking for a short-term or long-term rental, here are some of the signs that you may be dealing with a scammer. I was actually helping a family member after I started the business. So I went looking local for some rentals, and I contacted one, and immediately I knew I was dealing with a scammer. So I just played them along a little bit.
I love that. I love doing that.
I do too. So here's the story that she gave me. She stated that she owned the property that she was listing, and that she was out of state. She was in a horrific car accident. Her husband was in the military, and that they really just wanted to find someone to take care and love their home, as much as them. Well, like I said, I knew who I was dealing with. So I said, okay, well, what's the address so I can go by? And she said, now, here's the address, but if you go by and you see a property management sign, she said, just disregard that, because we fired them because they were too greedy. Well, what's funny is I had read that from another case. Oh. So I had to go by. Then it was my mission to go by and call the property manager. And she said, yeah, we're very aware of that scammer, but we just don't know what to do.
Crazy.
Yes.
It's so prevalent. I mean, it's just unbelievable. But again, like we said, it's easy for the scammers to get away with this and prey on people who just don't know better. And luckily, the more education awareness we can get out there, and actually, with your company working with some of the licensed rental vacation home companies in Florida, that's got to be a big plus too.
Oh, it is. Absolutely. So what I do is I take the guesswork out of it. And, we all beat up on Craigslist. I know I do. What about you, Skip?
Yeah, pretty much.
And that's such a shame, because there are legitimate advertisers. But once again, if you're looking at an ad, there's nothing in the ad to really tell you or give you a clue, unless you do, your own tips and tricks.
Exactly.
Even when you narrow it down. So let's say you have an ad and you're like, okay, this would be perfect. I did the reverse image search. I checked the public records, but you still need that last swipe, which would be me, to check and make sure that you are dealing with the authorized agent for that location.
Awesome. Hey, Tammy, do you have any final thoughts or takeaways, for our listeners who are really thinking about renting a vacation home or condo? I mean, summer's just around the corner.
Oh, yes. This is the time to definitely start looking. So we're at the end of March, and summer's going to be here before you know it. Like I said, you just need to be wary. Make sure that before you send money, and never, ever wire like we talked about. And there was something that I heard today which makes a lot of sense. Don't forget about these payment apps.
That's a good point.
And other apps that you can exchange money. This is what I found interesting, like Venmo. That was developed not for business. That was a app that was developed, like let's say you're having a meal and someone wants the points on their credit card, so they're going to pay for the whole meal, but the rest of the people need to chip in. So Venmo made that easy to do, but there is no consumer protection.
Exactly.
So you should only use those with people that you know and trust.
That's exactly right. Yeah, everyone's looking for that, like a Venmo or PayPal, that instant form of gratification by paying and those things. And again, that's something that the criminals and the scammers and fraudsters love to do.
Yes,
and
as a matter of
those
fact,
weaknesses.
This is another tip that I heard today, and I thought that this was phenomenal. You have people, we're all caring. You have people that may say, hey, can I use your phone? I need to make a call. Mine, my phone died. Can I use your phone? Here's what you do. You dial the number for them. Do not hand your phone over to them, because if you have the Venmo app, they've been known, the scammers will make a transaction while it looks like they're dialing on your phone.
Yep, and they wipe you out because you let them use your phone. Oh my!
Yes, so be very careful.
That is crazy. So, hey, Tammy, how can our listeners contact you for your help and advice?
Well, I tell you what, you gave them our website address. I'll mention that again. It's fireballapproves, and that's plural.com. And we're all over social media. If you like our Facebook page, it's Fireball Approves, no space. I don't only talk about things related to my business. I actually post any type of scam or scheme that I see. So, because I want everyone to beware. So it could be a phone scam, it could be an email scam, any type of situation like that. That's the stuff that I post. Now, talking about the name of my company, Fireball Approves, I could have named that, like rental verifications, but I did not do that because, Skip, this is my first area, but it will not be my last. I am developing services as we speak to combat fraud in all different situations.
Awesome.
And like the romance scams, the puppy scams, the vehicle scams, you name it. Before you know it, I'll be fighting the scammers on all fronts.
That's awesome. And ruin the bad guy's day.
That's right. That's the big mission right there.
Awesome. Well, I love what you do. Thanks, Tammy, so much for your time. And gosh, what great advice, everybody. You really should take the time to check out Tammy's website, fireballapproves.com. Check that out. A lot of great information on there. Hey, everyone, I'll also have all of Tammy's contact information listed in the podcast notes, her links to her website, and other information that's really valuable to you to help protect yourself from these scammers. And as always, please subscribe to and like Ruin a Bad Guy's Day Radio on Apple iTunes, YouTube, Spotify, and all those other free download services. Ruin a Bad Guy's Day Radio now is on all the major networks. So to receive those new episodes, please feel free to download those services. And we really, really appreciate your feedback and all that continued support. It really drives me every day, gives me a lot of enthusiasm and passion to continue the podcast. And thank you again for all those great notes and emails. So thanks again, everybody, and stay tuned for another great episode from Ruin a Bad Guy's Day Radio.
Thanks for listening to Ruin a Bad Guy's Day Radio podcast with Skip Myers.
If you liked our show, please tell your friends and colleagues.
You can learn more about us at ruinabadguysday.com or visit us on Twitter and Facebook at Ruin a Bad Guy's Day.
Join us for another episode of Ruin a Bad Guy's Day Radio Podcast.
The information provided in Ruin a Bad Guy's Day Radio podcast is for informational purposes only. It should not be considered legal or financial advice. You should consult with legal counsel or other professionals to determine what may be best for your individual or organizational needs.